Welcome to the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast, transforming the way people think and work so their organizations can thrive. Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to our podcast. I'm Ed Kless, and with me today is Bant Breen. Bant is a successful global marketing and media executive, entrepreneur, and academic. Bant is the executive chairman and founder of Qnary, an award-winning executive reputation management and talent branding solutions company. Qnary was listed as one of the 360 best companies by Entrepreneur Magazine in 2018 and 19. In 2010, Bant was inducted into the AAF Advertising Hall of Achievement. In March of 2020, he received his Ph.D. His thesis explored the perceptions of artificial intelligence by advertising industry. Welcome to the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast, Bant Breen.
It's great to be here, Ed. Thanks so much for having us.
Well, first off, Bant, why do you do what you do?
So I founded Qnary in about 2012, early 2012, with a thought that there were not many companies thinking about people. About a people-focused communications technology solution. What I mean by that is I had come from the world of advertising and marketing that was heavily focused on brands and building campaigns for brands. And what I realized is that the people out there, the consumers out there, as well as the executives in companies out there, had no idea what they didn't know. They didn't even know what they were missing out on in terms of the optimizations that were happening, the ways that technology platforms interconnected with one another or didn't connect with one another. And so they had really no way of telling their story. And so what I wanted to do was to build a company that would optimize and grow the footprint, the online presence of executives. And it was based on a very simple thesis, which is that everybody has a digital footprint. And what we would argue is that footprint matters. It matters in terms of the opportunities that you'll get as an individual, as well as a company. It also impacts your reputation as an individual and the reputation of your company. So it's very much for us about cultivating and dimensionalizing the voice of an enterprise through people, right? So I would see the relationship with brands being quite different today than it was a decade ago or even 20 years ago in terms of command and control. If you talk to kind of more classic comms practitioners, they'll really focus heavily in command and control. One voice, you have the CEO, and really even the CEO is not really allowed to speak that much. It's kind of very much driven by a chief communications officer. Whereas we would say, listen, companies have many doors and especially in a digital driven world, and so they need to develop a solution to offer to manage that complexity.
And tell me about the relationship as you see it between automation and human learning.
Sure. So automation and human learning. So I've spent my whole career, I think, somewhere on I would say on a plank, maybe like a pirate ship, between the world of services, which are very hands-on and require customization, as well as technology. I was a .com kid, started out when the internet was invented. That's really kind of when my communications career started, in kind of the mid 90s, when everything was starting to bubble up in that area. And so there's been this view that, well, technology and automation has won the day because that's what allows things to scale, which is absolutely important and certainly true in many respects. However, services and human learning and human expertise and analysis is still extremely important, especially when it comes to what we do. So my preoccupation on a daily basis is how do we interweave the human with the machine? Always. So even my thesis that I wrote last year was about, it was, I think, therefore I am ... right? Which is this relationship between what are areas where humans are really kind of the key drivers, and what are areas that can be automated so that we can kind of scale solutions and offer solutions for everybody to win. I wrestle. I would say that the simple line is people see these as there's a dichotomy between these two worlds, or that they are polar opposites. And what I believe is that the only way forward for humanity, for companies, is to truly build a process where these two things are operationally planned to coexist. And the ones that get that mix right are the ones that will win.
Yeah, it's interesting. So many people think that, especially in professional services, that with the rise of the bots, that we're going to have bots taking everybody's job. And one of the things that I like to say, that if your job can be completely taken over by a bot, your job pretty much sucks already.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think what we want to see is, you'll see kind of this idea of upskilling being discussed. So upskilling would be that maybe the bottom third of an organization's gets trained so that they can take kind of the next third's roles, and so on and so forth. Amazon is actually a leader in that space. Google's done a little bit of work. Most companies are wildly behind in thinking about upskilling, actually. It's actually one of I think that the concerns and the concerns that I have about America and the world right now is that we're not playing chess 2-3 moves ahead. We need to be pushing ourselves to not think about like, well, what's going to happen this month. We need to be thinking about right now, 2023, right? What's the world of 2023 going to look like? Because you're right, those 10% of bottom jobs are going to be automated, right? And how do we shift the workforce so we skill those individuals to handle the complexities that automation creates, right? So I think that for me, when you look at machine learning today and the opportunities that exist there, I only see job creation in the short term, to be honest. I would say over the next decade. Certainly, I suppose that we will reach a point in the future where machines can do everything that humans can do. But I suppose the reason why I'm dwelling so much on the focus on this area and how we think about those interrelationships is that if we don't really focus on those areas now, we will be in an awkward position in the 2030s and the 2040s.
And Bant, we have an exit question that we ask all of our guests, and that is, who is a hero of yours and why are they a hero?
So I am going to mention someone who no one's going to know about probably on your podcast, on your show, and I apologize, but he's somebody who in my life has been very important. And early in my life, I wrote a book about this gentleman. His name is Giuseppe Garibaldi, and he was a key figure in the creation of Italy as a nation. And he is a wildly colorful, romanticized character of the 19th century. There are stories about how he took 1,000 men and conquered Sicily against the French army. Whether these stories are true, I mean, I can tell you, obviously, there's a lot of myth there, but there's no doubt that there's an aspect about Garibaldi's charisma that I always warmed to, as well as his ability to just get things done and find a way. And so one of my personal motto has always been find a way. I'm very much of somebody where no matter what problem that you get presented, you have to find your way through it, and that's the only way to go. There's no this idea of like going in reverse makes no sense. So I've always loved Giuseppe Garibaldi. He's also one of these fascinating people who in the 19th century was truly world famous. He spent a good chunk of his life as in South America and also in America. There's actually a statue of him in New York City, in Washington Park. So he's a beloved person in my life.
And lastly, Bant, how can somebody contact you?
Sure. Reach out to me via email is probably best. I have a very odd but short name. It's Bant, B as in boy, A-N-T at Qnary, but spelled with a Q. Qnary.com, Bant at Qnary.com. And I'll be sure to get back to you.
All right. Bant Breen, founder of Qnary, thanks so much for being a guest on the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast.
Thanks, Ed.
Review and subscribe by searching your podcast player of choice for Sage Thought Leadership Podcast.